What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Need for Speed Unbound. If you guys caught our first video here on Unbound, you'll know that I was working on this S14 here, and although I absolutely loved it, I was running the stock engine, max power but stock engine, and we have since made some adjustments. So I'm going to take you guys through the entire build again here. I really think I got the perfect build on this S14, and then we're going to hop out into free mode and get some tandems with our man H1 who's out there waiting for us. So first what we're going to do, we're going to hop into rides. We'll go through the style once more for you guys. For the body, we got the Vertex Edge kit on this one, guys, with a couple modifications. We got our front fenders, we left Vertex Edge. Wheels we did change out. We're running some 3SDM 301 FX2s. Tires we left stock. Calipers, we got these guys here. Discs we left stock, although honestly, these probably don't change performance, huh? It probably just looks. We'll run some Jordan Slaughtered. I assume that's all changed in the brake upgrade. And then side skirts we left stock. Well, we left Vertex Edge skirts. The wing mirrors we did change. I actually didn't even mention this. We got the Speed Hunters on this one. And then the rear fenders we did change. We were in the Origin Lab rear fenders. Taillights we smoked out. Exhaust we changed to the titanium tip. No rear diffuser. The rear bumper is the Vertex Edge. We got our little yank plate on the back here, running the NTNS plate. Spoiler, we're running the Nissan stock S14 spoiler. Roof we left stock. Heading up front, guys, we did smoke out the headlights. Our front bumper we left the Vertex Edge, did not add a splitter, and we changed out the hood here to high quality, and then we did delete the canards on the corners as well. So I think that's everything for the visual side of the build. Heading on into stance here, guys, which I think is still visual. We got the height all the way down. Camber is like 2 clicks. Yep, 2 clicks off the middle, and then the rear is all the way less in the back. For paint and wrap, guys, just a gloss white paint job on this one. Driving effects, we got just the stock stuff here. No crazy effects or anything like that. Vanity items, everything's pretty much the same. Underglow, we ran the purple underglow. No air suspension or anything like that. And then here's my exhaust sound in case you guys are curious. Heading into performance next, guys, we got our engine to start here. We did end up swapping this car out. So if you remember from the first video, we were running the stock engine and we made about 580 horsepower. We're running 687 on that second inline 6 option for this car. And I think that was one of the best mods we possibly could have done to this build. Having that extra power really helped slip out that back end and made a lot better use of those 7 gears that we have in the transmission. So gonna highly recommend this engine swap. I think it really worked out well for this car. Heading into parts next, guys, we do have the max intake. I believe the ECU is stock. It is. Fuel is gonna be maxed out here. We got the Elite. Exhaust is Elite as well. For forced induction, guys, we do have the twin turbo, just like that original build. I think it just worked out really well, having a little torque on the bottom end and then having some nice power up top. Nitrous we left stock once again. Suspension actually didn't change. We did try out a couple different suspensions here. Actually, someone recommended not using the road suspension, and we did try out the Elite regular suspension. If you guys are looking for the car to go a little bit wider, I think this works out really well. However, I do like that little bit of extra grip and a little bit of extra control I get out of the road suspension. So I did end up leaving that long run, but it definitely does work to go a little bit wider with the regular suspension too. Brakes we left stock once again here, guys. It is a little bit easier to get on that left foot brake with a little bit less brake pressure, so we haven't changed that out yet. Tires, obviously, we left the Drift Pros on here. Clutch is maxed out once again. We did keep that 7-speed transmission as well. Just a little bit shorter gearing does help the car slip out a little bit easier, and our differential is all the way up as well. So that's the build for today, guys. Let's head out to a new drift spot. H1's waiting for us. We're gonna get some tandems. Let's do it. All right, guys, so here we are with my man H1. Now, we did actually find, shout out to Dilly, he found this spot for us on the last stream. Let me show you guys where we're at on the map. We're gonna be down here on the bottom right-hand corner. This is an awesome spot for drifting because it goes around the lake, it loops, and there's no cops, so that's awesome. And we were getting some great tandems here in this spot last time we tried it, so hopefully we should be able to get some good tandems for you guys. Let's get running. Big entry here down the beginning.
Yep.
Nice doors. Big tap. I didn't even get the camera shake, dude.
Oh, sick. I got it a little bit.
Oh, there it is. I spoke too soon. So we were talking a little bit before we started recording, guys, about how it would be nice to turn off that camera effect when you are tapping doors. It can be right there. See that little glitch that happens, that like VCR style glitch? It's a cool effect, but I think it's a little aggressive in drifting when you are trying to, you're trying to tap doors, you know? So it would be kind of cool, just like the road effects, how you can turn off like the cartoony stuff on the tires. It would be great if you could turn off that crash effect too. We have definitely a huge wish list, I would say, for this game. We were actually talking a little bit on stream last night about how it would be cool to add things like tuning, you know, car drift racing, Forza, that type of stuff. Assetto Corsa, you can tune your alignment, your gearing, all of that stuff. Obviously, it's Need for Speed. You know, it's an arcade racer, so you can't expect too much in the way of tuning and customization, but they have absolutely nailed the visual customization. I think both of these cars specifically, like H1's got me wanting an S15 so bad with this build up here. You know, the visual customization is absolutely sick, so it would be awesome to kind of fine-tune how the cars drive a little more, other than just, you know, buying different suspensions or trying different motor swaps or whatever it is. It would be really cool to be able to fine-tune that stuff individually. Tire pressure would be a huge one for sure. Ooh, man. So I do think, too, we were talking a little bit earlier about how these cars are pretty nice on this spot specifically. And similar to real-life drifting, you know, I know a lot of the FD guys, they'll swap out their differential depending on what line they're running. And it might be kind of the same thing for these cars. You know, you might prefer the 7-speed for a certain spot versus the 6-speed for another. H1 was saying he absolutely loves the S15 in this spot, but has a little bit of a tougher time on the mountain. So there's definitely a little bit of a trade-off on the setups too. And I think one of the most fun things about this game is the high skill ceiling, you know. And as we learn a little more and drive into fences, we'll kind of know what each car needs for what spot and get a little bit more used to them and kind of lock in the tandems a little bit more too. H1, do you know what you're running for power?
I think I'm at like 565 or something like that.
Yeah,
like
so we're probably pretty close. You might be a little bit more, or a little less than me actually. But I think, you know, just like Car X, it's nice to have similar power numbers, similar suspension setups, that type of stuff. Definitely helps you get a little bit closer, you know. If you got someone in a 900 horsepower Camaro, they might be pulling away from you a little more than your 500 horsepower S chassis. But you can definitely get close on this game. I think in the first video we posted, we were definitely feeling it out, and we found that tandems are possible. And in this video, I kind of wanted to show you guys that like really nice, smooth, close tandems are very possible. And we're definitely no pros yet, but I do think that it's there. I think the possibility is there to really get some nice tandems in this game, and hopefully we can turn this game into another solid drifting game. By, you know, the map's beautiful, the graphics are insane. I really think you know, once we get some good practice in on the physics and really get used to getting some doors, it could really be a great drifting simulator or drifting game. I won't call it a simulator by any means, but it's fun. It's a fun game. You know, you got the nitrous boost, you got the big crash effects. Like I said, the graphics are awesome, and so yeah, man, I think it's a pretty solid base for a fun drifting game. I think a lot of people already have Unbound, which is really cool. A lot of the guys in our Discord server, you know, we hopped right on Unbound, and people were able to come right out, which was really nice. H1 had to uninstall Fortnite, but we don't talk about that.
Okay.
What about you, man? You have anything on your wish list or anything you'd like to add to the game?
Yeah, like you said, I just would really like to see just tuning, because this game has like a great parts system where you can, like, you know, change stuff and see what it does. But at the same time, it doesn't do, I wouldn't say like a whole lot, unless it's like power-wise to the car. From what I have found, like the cars kind of feel, I wouldn't say like the same, but similar enough to one another. So like I would like to see maybe just changes in handling. Interesting,
yeah, because this is my one and only drift build. That's something I should definitely make really clear. This is the only build I've done, so I really don't have a point of reference other than this S14. So I know you have your Z, you have the RX-7, you have this S15, so you've done a few more drift builds than I have, and they you'd say they all feel pretty similar to one another?
I would say so. Like there's nothing that really changes on like the handling of like the drift physics. It's almost like they kind of just copied and pasted it from like each individual car, maybe with like slight changes, but it's nothing like to the point where it's like preference in handling necessarily.
So would you say the difference between like off-road suspension and road suspension is bigger than like car to car? Like if you went road suspension to really? Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay, so that's really interesting. That's good to know. So obviously, guys, we went through the S14 setup earlier in this video, and so maybe that's kind of what we start with when we do build an RX-7 or we do build an S15. We kind of just copy the setup over from the S14. And obviously, like I said, I want you guys to let me know if you guys have setup suggestions. I did try, there was one guy who recommended in the last video that I try standard suspension instead of road, and I did, and honestly, like, I totally get it, and I think for certain spots it would be great because I was drifting a lot wider, but the lack of downforce that I had was a little bit, or I don't even want to say downforce because that's a separate adjustment, but the lack of grip that I had by going with that suspension system just made the car a little bit harder to control in spots, and I was going a little too wide, and so I just ended up kind of preferring the road suspension for this car specifically. So I was wondering if car to car, if I would make that same decision again, and it sounds like based on H1's research here, that's going to be the case. So if you guys have set up an S14, definitely let me know what you guys run for suspension and motor and all of that. Like I was saying too, we motor swapped this out from the stock motor just to make a little bit more power. I felt like I was full throttle everywhere with the 7-speed transmission, and even with those shorter gears, I couldn't really break traction, and so it's definitely nice to have that inline 6 in this thing now. And well, here's another thing too. Now that I mentioned the inline 6, you probably won't have the same motor swaps available for every car, right? There might be different swaps available. No. Yeah, so the power is really, and I've noticed that like Dilly's RX-7, for example, is way faster than this car, so that's a big difference car to car, is like how fast they are, but it sounds like the handling is going to be pretty similar, so that's really interesting.
I tried the Crown Vic, that thing. Okay, Carl, yep.
I'm so good at leading, dude. It's so good. It's my thing. It's my calling. This is a great point for me to tell you guys, too. This spot's great because if you go right down this road over here, there's a gas station right over here. So if you really wreck out like I just did, trying to be a goofball and take the lead from your friends, you got the gas station right over here. Short drive. You can pull right in, fix your car up, and get back to driving some tandems, so.
I'm kind of low on money right now, but...
Yeah, that's another thing with this game, dude. It takes so much to grind for the parts. It's not like in Car X, you get to a certain point where money doesn't matter, you know? I think Forza, a lot of people are there too, especially for drift builds, you know? Some people save up for really expensive cars or whatnot, but I think for most of us, the money kind of doesn't matter when you're building a drift car in those games. But dude, I'm like, oh, I want an RSX for B class. Let me do 4 hours of link ups on this game. And honestly, I like that. It makes the cars feel a little bit more valuable. You know, you got to really be more methodical in your decisions. But I will say, you know, like I needed more power. And so I needed to go for a motor swap, which cost me like 145K. It would be nice to just go into the gearing and tune some of the gears to use that power that I already had instead of spending that money. And so that's something I think tuning could really offer as well. So yeah, that would be my big... Did someone say that like Carbon had it or something? Or someone said one of the 2015 had tuning? I think it might have been 2015, yeah. Which, I mean, hey, that game has its own reputation. Like I said in the first video, guys, my first first Need for Speed since Carbon, so I really don't know too much about what's been going on in the franchise over the last decade or so, or decade or two, honestly. But if they can do it in Carbon, you know, maybe it's gonna come to Unbound one day. It'd be amazing. I think a little more steering lock would be cool too. Maybe like you know, just like a WiseFab angle kit that you could stick in here and get a little bit more steering angle. But it's really not that bad. It's not like the GTA low grip cars or whatever. But they're 4 degrees of steering lock. It's very grippy. I will say it's a very, very grippy set of physics. Compared to, I mean, we're usually on like 90 adhesion on Car X or running like snow tires on Forza, and so, you know, to each their own with that. Some people really prefer the grippier setups, and you know, it's interesting too, because I think the drifting on this game, and you know, correct me if you guys disagree, but I think it's hard. Like, I think it's definitely difficult to learn, and you know, we've hopped into other games. GTA comes to mind, where it's like, you know, a few hours in, we're able to tandem pretty close, no matter what we're doing or where we're driving. And honestly, like H1 and I feel like are really the two that are getting the closest with tandems. A lot of guys are still feeling out the physics and feeling out their builds. And you know, I've personally put a lot of time into this one car and trying to learn how to drift. Probably something close to, man, 10 hours maybe, like 2 hours off stream building the car, and then another 2 4-hour streams each, so that's another 8 hours, you know. So like 10 hours of driving to even get to, you know, this level. And now we're tapping doors around the lake, which is amazing. But you know, there's definitely other drifting games that you can hop in and get to it a little bit easier. But again, that's the skill ceiling, and that's what makes video games fun to play. You know, that's what makes things rewarding when you finally get it. And so I think it's definitely worth sticking out and getting some drifts with your buddies. And if there's anything that, you know, we can offer you guys, please feel free to let us know down in the comments. H1 has his own YouTube channel too. I'm going to leave that linked in the description down below, so you guys can check that out too, and let us know if you need tips or pointers or whatever on getting some doors out here. My big one is get your build right, you know, figure out what works for you and what spot you're driving, and then the other one is roll your sticks. I think going side to side is really tough on this game. I think being able to roll your sticks and point them forward is really, really helpful in keeping your car smooth and directing the nose of the car where it needs to go in a tandem. So that's going to be my kind of 2. I haven't even tried like a brake upgrade. I really like the stock brakes too. It makes me feel like I can really left foot brake quite well and kind of control the car that way too. So that's gonna be, I think that's gonna be it for this tandem session, guys. As you can see, we're definitely getting really close. Got the S14 here. H1 with his S15. H1, thank you so much for coming by today, man. I appreciate the driving. Guys, once again, H1's YouTube is gonna be linked in the description down below. If you guys are watching this on YouTube and you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you guys a ton. If you did enjoy the video or found it useful at all, please feel free to leave a like down below as well. Subscribe for more just like it, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.